All right, let's start.
I'll start with the statement of compliance. This meeting is being held in the conformity of the Open Public Meeting Act. Proper public notices of this meeting was published in the local newspapers. If any board member or member of the public in attendance believes that this meeting is in violation of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Hoboken Board of Education requests that they make a statement at this time. The board wishes to make those in attendance aware that this meeting is being recorded on video and will be broadcast by the board at a later date on cable television channel 77 and FiOS channel 46. The Hoboken Board of Ed is committed to preserving the decorum of the public process and is mindful that we live in an age of electronic computers, cell phones, and other communication devices. Nevertheless, we respectfully request that all meeting participants kindly silence their electronic devices during the course of this meeting, and if use of that device is necessary, we ask that you please leave the meeting room if you need to conduct personal business. If you could please rise for the salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please take the roll.
Call roll.
Please.
Mr. Biancamano.
Present.
Ms. Evans.
Here.
Mr. Cluffell.
Here.
Ms. Mitchell.
Here.
Mrs. Rhodes-Kearns.
Present. Is this working?
Yes, I heard. Yes. Ms. Sobolov.
Here.
Ms. Stromwall.
Here.
Ms. Tyroller.
Here.
And Dr. Gold.
Here. Well, anyway, before we begin, I will be stepping down as board president. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve. Nominations are open.
I nominate Ruthie.
Is there a second?
I second.
Please call the vote.
Motion by Ms. Sobolov, seconded by Ms. Mitchell. Nomination of Ruth Tyroller as president. A call roll. Mr. Biancamano.
No.
Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Mr. Cluffell.
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes-Kearns.
No.
Ms. Sobolov.
Yes.
Ms. Stromwall.
Yes.
Ms. Tyroller.
Yes.
And Dr. Gold.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I'd like to, thank you. And so now we'll have nominations for a new vice president.
I nominate Tom Kupfel.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Okay. We have Mr. Cluffell as vice president. I'll call roll. Mr. Biancamano.
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Mr. Cluffell.
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes-Kearns.
Yes.
Ms. Sobolov.
Yes.
Ms. Stromwall.
Yes.
Ms. Tyroller.
Yes.
And Dr. Gold.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Huh?
Okay, are we ready to proceed? So
Yes.
we'll go with the superintendent's report, please.
Great, thank you, Ruth. By way of introduction tonight, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a retired superintendent in the state of New Jersey and the state of New York, with a great deal of experience in the central office, probably over 25 years as assistant superintendent, deputy, and superintendent. And I'm absolutely as pleased as punch to join the Hoboken School District as your interim superintendent for as long as the term may last. I've gotten an opportunity over the last 4 weeks to meet many of the people in town, many of the staff members, and I'm really looking forward to meeting the students on opening day. But I want to thank the board publicly for your trust in my candidacy, and look forward to serving the district with all my heart. Thank you. I do have a couple of announcements. We are going to be pulling on governance and personnel, number 14 on resolution number 9.02.
I'm sorry, Dr. Brackel, that was 9.02, number 9?
Number 14.
Oh, number 14, sorry.
9.02, number 14. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. And I do have an announcement regarding our kindergarten aides. Last year, as part of our budget building process, our kindergarten aides were included in a number of staff cuts that we made in order to arrive at a budget that we as a community could support. During this process, the Hudson County Office of Education was consulted and authorized the proposed cuts and the final budget. This was a difficult decision for the board. However, it was implemented due to the tremendous financial pressures which have befallen all school districts in the state of New Jersey over the past several years. But at this point, I'm happy to say that we have realized greater savings than originally anticipated at budget building time through certain efficiencies in transportation and health benefits. Following further dialogue with the Department of Education, we shall use those unanticipated savings to reinstate the aides in our kindergarten classrooms for the 2014-15 school year. Thank you.
Good news.
Thank you. Okay, business administrators report, please.
We do have a live item, a live item as previously discussed by the superintendent. It will allow for the hiring of kindergarten aides. The resolution will read, be it resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the business administrator, board secretary to transfer available funds in the amount of $244,264 from account line 11-270-290-270-13-0820-000 for health benefits to account line 11-190-106-13-1072-000, which is the instructional aid line. The subject transfer will allow the district to hire kindergarten aide positions for the 2014-2015 school year. Unfortunately, the summer did hold some surprises, unusual surprises for the board, specifically me. After the budget was adopted and over the early part of the summer, we were advised by the Department of Education that our school choice aid was being reduced. That amount, as we were notified mid-July, the amount of $669,438 has been reduced, which brings our school choice aid down from $27 million to $1.9 million. The reason given for this reduction was a shift in the formula that the state had used to calculate the aid. It moved from a per pupil that was based on a projected per pupil amount from the district to per pupil amount, I should say, multiplied by the projected enrollment to the actual enrollment as of October 2013, which is the preceding year. So with that change, again, a change from projected enrollment to actual enrollment of the prior October, that generated that reduction of the $670,000. Now, what does this mean? There's two issues. One is this year's budget, which is the 2014-15 school year. We're going to have to continue to tighten our belts and look for savings. and efficiencies and potentially defer various projects or initiatives. Those are things that we'll have to consider, as well as manage our surplus. What will allow me for 2015-16 is the same thing as far as efficiencies, but we'll be in a position to have to either reduce the budget on the appropriation side to offset the loss of $670,000 in revenue and or a combination thereof. Also replace that revenue in state aid with revenue from the property tax. That's something that we'll be weighing over the next few months as we start preparing for the creation of this budget cycle, which will be 2015-2016, which is our next cycle. And that, unfortunately, concludes my report. I wish I had better news, but again, these are things that we'll be working on in the next few months.
Thank you, Mr. Moffitt. Okay, now we'll go on to committee reports. We'll start from Jen.
Okay. The Governance and Personnel Committee met Wednesday, August 13th from 10:30 to 1 o'clock. In attendance were Dr. Brickell, myself, Vito Gagliardi, Dr. Gold, Dr. Hernandez, William Moffitt, Ruthie Tyroller, and Irene Sobolov. The committee discussed the possibility of having to hire kindergarten aides based on a change in position by the Department of Education. This issue has been resolved as presented tonight by the superintendent and the business administrator. Mr. Gagliardi updated the committee on pending legal matters. The committee also discussed a request to modify a resolution from last December's board meeting. In particular, the Ola Charter School would like to receive funds for items different than specified in that resolution. The committee asked that the business administrator and board attorney review the matter and report back to the board in September, or to the committee rather, in September. The committee reviewed all the agenda items, and there are 2 retirements on the agenda tonight, Juan Cabezas and Ann Aaron. We'd like to thank them for their years of service to the children of the district and wish them all the best in their retirement. On a sad note, I also mention the passing of 3 former district employees this past week, Cheng-Yen Hillenbrand, Phyllis Taglieri, and Joseph Topalma. They and their families are in our thoughts. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Tom, Finance?
Thank you. The Finance Committee met last Wednesday, August 13th at 9:30. With me was Leon Gold, Irene Sobolov, Monica Stromwell, and Mr. Moffitt. We reviewed all finance agenda items tonight. It's not overwhelming, but there are a number of contracts, which is sort of normal. I checked last year. This is the beginning of the school year, so there's a lot of tuition contracts or out-of-district placements that we have to approve, and some other sort of normal start of school year things. We did ask many questions, and Mr. Moffitt replied, and I think we're all satisfied with recommending these. We did review the legal expenses, and it sounds like, although maybe final accounting isn't quite done, but it looks like we might be under our goal for this year. Is that correct?
Yes, we'll be under. Yes.
Yeah.
Great.
So that's good news. And Jean Marie, are you going to talk about food services as part of your report tonight?
If you would like to, I had a comment, but I was going to hold either for the superintendent or if you wanted to report.
Because we did discuss it briefly, and while the food services program did better than it did last year, it still lost a little bit of money, but that will be covered under Sodexo's contract this year. So that, while it's not perfect news, it is good news as far as the Board of Education is concerned. And that will conclude this report.
Thank you. Irene?
Athletics and Performing Arts Committee met also on August 13th. In attendance was myself, Dr. Hernandez, Jean Marie Mitchell, and Leon Gold. For the athletics, the full sports were discussed, and practice has begun for football, soccer, volleyball, and cross country. Under Performing Arts, Greece is scheduled for February 6th, 7th, and 8th, which is for our 7th to 12th graders. Shrek the Musical, which is our K-12, is scheduled for May 15th, 16th, and 17th. Notices will be posted at all the district schools 2 months before the show. Theater volunteers were discussed as submitted on the agenda, and thank you to everybody for volunteering your time. In response to great student interest, a new backstage student activity club has been established. Ms. Miller will conduct a workshop at the next NJEA Teacher Convention on using drama and theater games in any classroom as a way of getting students to work together in groups. The band camp was discussed, which is August 25th through 29th for marching band members, grades 7th through 12th. Wanted to say thank you to Band Director Azardo, Music Director Stasiak, Ms. Monblat, Ms. Safko, and Mr. Roman for volunteering their time to provide this opportunity to the students. Other camps were discussed for individual teams and clubs, and the recent theater and athletic events were very popular with the students, and it also provides a great opportunity to familiarize students with the junior high school and staff. So as those will be explored and more information will become available. Thank you.
Jean Marie?
The Facilities Committee met on August 7th around 5:30. In attendance was myself as chair, Leon Gold, Tim Callaghan, Facilities Director, and Monica Stromwell had made her best efforts to try to attend. Unfortunately, I wasn't clear on the building, so Monica showed up here. We had it at Demarest. Wallace School Painting. Many Wallace parents got together and formed a group and reached out to the board. They wanted to brighten up and enhance the school surroundings, and with their input, the hallways and common areas were painted in bright jewel tone colors. The board really appreciates parent involvement, and it forms an excellent partnership with the administration, staff, and parents for the benefit of the elementary children who attend. It was a great job, and I encourage parents to see the bright new colors in the school. 4 trees were placed in front of the building. The school library was relocated, and there was a computer room addition, and an expansion of child study rooms. The Wallace School also had progress in the generator replacement project. The generator will run on natural gas, and it's on a 2-foot platform off grade level on an area that never flooded during Hurricane Sandy. At the branch school, several classrooms were relocated and were painted and ready for September. All schools had new window shades installed. At the Hoboken High School, the gym floor had its finishing touches after initial refurbishment last year. The floor was lightly sanded to remove all small imperfections to the finish. There were 2 air conditioning compressors replaced for the central air in some of the offices. About 5% of the window units were replaced as needed. At Demarest, the boiler replacement is still in progress. It is in the permit phase. The final installation should be completed during this school year. Elysian Charter School moved to the 4th floor. Pre-K classes moved into Elysian's previous location. At Connors, the reconstruction of the pre-K classrooms and Hope's office is about 80% complete and should be ready for September. A water pump was relocated and repairs were made, and the mechanicals were moved to above grade. There were also network upgrades, especially Connors at the high school and Wallace, and computer networks are still being upgraded. The Connors network is presently complete and lightning fast. That's my report. Thank you.
And I'd just like to make a comment about curriculum and instruction. Those meetings will be beginning again in the fall. What we did, because part of the budget was a reduction in force at the main office, which was our Ms. Bachknight, who was our Director of Curriculum and Personnel. She's very much missed, but the administration has changed some job titles, so we still have the coverage for teacher evaluations, which is a big part of administration's work right now due to the state rules. And we're going to have sort of a rotating administration at the curriculum meetings from our supervisors, the English, the math, and the technology and science. Technology and science she's over. So we'll announce that at the next September meeting, when the regular meetings will be, and where they will be and what time. So that's coming soon, and we'll start again in the fall. I just wanted to mention that. Okay, okay, so we're done with committee reports. We've had the two.
Madam Chair?
Let's have the board, if they'd
Please.
like my comments.
I have questions.
Should we start with, at the very end, Fran, you too?
Doesn't matter, he wants to-
Whatever,
you said
whichever
first.
wants to go
Whatever.
first.
You addressed you first.
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
Two specific questions, and Mr. Cleffel, you might be able to help with the first one. The food services. In terms of reducing the overall debt, besides what we take out of our budget every year, did any of the money made this year go to reducing the overall debt? Maybe Mr. Moffett.
Well, I don't believe that.
If I may, are you referring to the resolution we passed in June related to the use of surplus?
No,
Which-
I'm not.
okay.
What I'm trying to say is we take a specific amount of money every year to reduce the overall debt in our budgets.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were also going to look at what profits we were making in terms of the yearly gross of what the food service is doing. Did we make any profit this year to reduce that overall debt?
Well, let me answer it this way.
Okay.
As Mr. Cleffel reported, we still ran what I call an operating loss in the food service account, of roughly $82,000. They, meaning the food service management company, has a clause in their contract to cover that loss, and actually more of that, but which basically wipes the slate clean out of the operation, so it's a zero. And there are certain charges above and beyond that we have to account for in that fund. So there will be, and I anticipate, a slight loss for the year. That loss would be offset by the reserves we have built into our budget, which is $150,000, which we feel will be more than enough to use for. The residual amount of that, so say it's, I'm going to use a number, which I'm not advocating, but we'll say it's $20,000. The difference of $130,000 would be used to reduce the accumulated deficit currently there.
And just out of curiosity, so we lost 82,000?
Roughly 82,
Okay,
with no final
82,000 this
counting
year.
because the auditors
And what did we
were-
lose last year as compared to last year?
That's about $146,000 loss last year.
So it is doing better. Okay. The second question.
No, I'm sorry. No, we're talking to
Please.
ourselves.
The second question is regarding the kindergarten aides. What's the total, now that we're bringing them back, how much is it going to, what's the total cost in terms of bringing back the kindergarten aides?
Well, the kindergarten aides itself, we used an estimate. We're estimating about 17 overall positions, so we used a hourly rate times 5.75 to really as a base for the projection. The number that we used earlier is 244,262 all in as an estimate. We currently, up-to-date numbers is where we have roughly 14 classrooms, so we need one for each classroom. We anticipate some additional, so this would cover that.
So it'll be 244,000.
244,280.
And where's that money coming from? I mean, we cut them in a few months ago during the budget process. And I understand that I read one of your emails that said it was a line item move, but where did it come from? For what line item?
Well, it's coming from the health benefits. And as the superintendent had covered in his opening remarks, these are from efficiencies that we've had over time. So things and estimates that we were presented for budget creation have changed over time. We've obviously had other, in the reduction of force and the outsourcing of transportation, as well as review of our health benefit calculations. There are some residual.
So in the budget we passed, that was passed a few months ago, we overestimated the cost of health benefits.
Well, at the time, you wouldn't. Now that you're looking back, you would say you had more than you needed. But there are other lines that I have to look at now that may be short. But as a budget, you make assumptions, and sometimes they're over, and sometimes they're under. And if we're lucky, they're right on target. So some of the estimates we made, again, savings you don't know, and as you know through the transportation outsourcing, some of the early estimates on the savings there were below what we actually feel that we'll realize in the long run. So that's a good issue as far as having a positive impact on the budget.
Okay. No further questions.
And you saw that, I'm sorry, but you saw the very last page is the live item. For you to,
that on the new agenda? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I did not see
I didn't want to interrupt you to point it out, but it's there, so.
Okay, you done?
I'm done.
My question is also about the aides, and one is for Jen, Madam Chair, if that's okay, and one for Mr. It's the same question, but I don't know who would be better to
ask
answer
your
it.
question and they'll.
Jen, in your report, you mentioned that the Department of Education had a change.
Well, the county approved the budget, right? And we had discussions with them saying we were going to eliminate the aides position. They knew it, they approved it, and then they came back and said, actually, you need to have them.
Right,
You need to have them back
it's a
in.
statute, correct? Mr. Moffett, that we have to have kindergarten aides because we were an Abbott school district, but Abbott school districts are now considered, just correct me if I'm wrong, let me finish, that we are considered SDA districts now, which still come under the same statutes, mandates as an Abbott school district. Is that correct?
There's a couple things going on.
I think Dr. Brickell wants to address.
Is that correct?
That is correct. What we did with the county office actually missed it in the final budget.
Right. But we missed it also.
So what we have now is a clear code that says we need to reinstate them and we need to have no more than 21 in the class. So
Right.
that's what we're going to do.
But we missed that. Like, that should have been, that,
No, that was
we were
part.
required as an SDA district. I just wanted to get
Well, no,
clarification on this.
During the budget process, we created a series of reductions and staff reductions. During that process, the kindergarten aides were identified. We did put them in our budget. There is code, and that's some of the issue that was clarified for us recently. You alluded to Abbott. Abbott technically doesn't exist, but they've been absorbed in some of the, what you call the code. It's administrative code. In that administrative code, there is a requirement to have classroom kindergarten aides.
Right, so the requirements that were in place for us when we were Abbott still remain now that we're SDA, correct? Am I saying this right? Am I not?
Yeah, well, if I can, there's been no release.
So nothing changed. We were supposed to have aides in kindergarten classes, correct?
Well, that was
all along.
There was a residual question to that, yes.
Right, so.
Which was resolved recently.
Right, but I think we should have known this. You know, our business office should have known this. This should have never slipped through us, that we need to be a little bit more cautious knowing these requirements, okay? Because they will let go. That's another question I have. The ones that will let go, will they have an opportunity to come back, or they have to reapply like everybody else, an open process?
Yes, we're going to be posting, but we are going to be reaching out to those who were let go.
Okay,
some of them were
that's good to
placed.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we've already begun that process.
Thank you.
Any
If I can add, and
Sure.
I'll confirm it. This budget was brought to the county office, and they approved it.
Right, but it was our budget.
Correct.
It was our budget. But I'm saying we should have known. It doesn't, I mean, the county approved it, they should have known also, but we should have also.
That's correct.
And so, yeah,
The county should have known.
and so should we. And so should we. We are an Abbott, well, SDA,
Okay,
formerly known as Abbott.
Ms. Mitchell,
Should
do you
have
have any
been aware of
questions?
this.
Thank you, Ms. Rosecrans. Do you have any questions?
No.
Irene?
No.
Mr. Klopfeld? Jen? Everyone good? Okay, I just would like to point out, thank you very much for the details, Mr. Moffett, on school choice. And just for the public that is here and also for those that may listen at a later time, the reduction of school choice, I want people to understand the way school choice works. And school choice originally, when it was a program established by the state, just like when we began, the state started to begin with charter schools, and those approvals were going on. Originally, the school choice came to districts just as charter school money for out-of-student residents comes. So if a child from Jersey City wanted to take a school choice seat in Hoboken, the money followed the student from Jersey City, just like if a Jersey City child comes to a charter school in Hoboken, the charter school has them registered under their home address, and the money comes from their home district. School choice changed, I think shortly after, with the Christie administration, that the state funds the school choice. And Just my opinion, I think that this is an incorrect method of funding school choice. I think that the districts that join school choice, like Hoboken has, and Jersey City and the other communities that children come here from, I think that the idea is that I think the money should come from the district, the home district. And then we wouldn't be in a situation where, and just like if a child from Hoboken decided to choose a high school other than ours in a choice program, the money would leave Hoboken to go there. I think that that's a more sound system because it's the whole idea of the money going with the child. And it would have us not in a situation where the state, as the program becomes more popular, is less happy with funding the price, which has to be part of the reason why we had this unexpected reduction. So I just wanted to point out that difference between the way out of district students are funded in charters versus choice. And I just think that the charter funding formula makes more sense as taxpayers and about what the state should be sponsoring, you know. And I just wanted to point that out because I think that that's a clarification that's important for, you know, the public to understand. And again, that's my opinion, but
Can I make a comment?
certainly.
Just something that you said triggered it. Regardless of, to me, in my opinion, regardless of where the money comes from, I'm frustrated in what I see as kind of an unfair attitude towards public schools, and in some ways a lot of unfunded mandates. Like the school choice, we're being punished now, or the money is being taken away from us, when in other instances choice is celebrated and honored, but when it's for us, it's cut another $600,000. And the same with the kindergarten aides. In many other municipalities in New Jersey, kindergarten is not required, or it's half day. Because we're this former Abbott that has these rules that nobody can agree on, we are required to have full day with the aides, but again, that doesn't come with the funding. So that I just wanted to bring that up.
Okay. Okay, well, that concludes my remarks. Anybody else? Are we good? Okay, so we do need to go at some point into closed session, but my question is it going to require action? Because I know the major discussion of that, I'm not on that committee.
If I could just ask a question, were we going to do the business first and then do that, or how are we going to proceed with the consent agenda?
Well, if we were taking action on it, is there an item actually that we take action on the agenda that has to be discussed in closed?
I have items that I want to pull for closed session discussion, so.
Okay. How many agenda item people are there to speak? Agenda not...
There's just one individual signed up at this point for the
For agenda
agenda
portion,
item.
just the agenda?
Okay, so should we...
Madam
then
Chair, what is the executive session about?
I believe we're
Well, I have
discussing...
something from the agenda, so.
Okay, but I
that's
believe
something.
it's to discuss negotiations.
Is it?
I'm...
Yeah,
Or no?
I don't think tonight we have...
The MOA hasn't been signed. If you
Okay, so we don't...
Yeah.
want to talk about it, that's fine.
you wanted an update, or?
If they want, that's great.
Okay.
It's up to the president.
Do you
think we
have...
should be briefed first, or?
Do you have a personnel question, though?
I have agenda items, yeah, well, we have to do it in closed session.
Okay, so then let's do this. Let's poll items to discuss in closed session. Let's have public comment on agenda items. And then we'll do a consent agenda on the rest of the items other than the ones that are polled. We'll go into closed session. The public, you'll know what items we're polling that we're not going to vote on, that we're going to discuss, that we're going to come out and vote out of closed session on, so you can
Madam
decide
Chair,
whether or not you want to
just
stay.
Very, very quickly, I will also like to ask questions before we vote on a consent agenda.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And then we will, when we resume, we'll do the additional public comments at the end of the meeting. Okay, so what order should we do? Let's do questions on the agenda, and then we'll poll items, and then we'll vote on, I'm sorry.
Public session, yeah.
sorry, let's go with public comments on agenda items. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Waiters?
Tommy and Tom?
Patricia Waiters, 1233 Park Avenue. The first agenda item was our new superintendent. Welcome again. I met you a couple of weeks ago. I don't know you, but hopefully I have a good, we have a good relationship together. I work with the whole community, like I told you when I met you a couple of weeks ago. But it's just a little disturbing to the public. I'm just speaking on a few comments that was brought to me. When I watched the last Board of Ed meeting, Ms. Rhodes, Kearns, and Peter, you nominated Dr. Hernandez. What left a flag what raised the flag in our mind is we had Dr. Hernandez for 3 years. Excellent superintendent, bonded with our kids, bonded with the parents, and here we go again. Nothing against the new superintendent. He wasn't even given an opportunity. And what bothered the public more is the fact that we're trying to tighten our belts. I just heard Mr. Moffitt say it tonight. We're trying to tighten our belts and do more with less. We know what his performance was like. We are used to him. We had him. And I can't understand what I watched and witnessed myself. So I'm just going to leave it at that. But this is some questions that when I'm being stopped in the street and my constituents walk up to me and ask me, what happened? I don't know what happened, but hopefully you can come up with some answers because that was a little confusing. And then speaking to a few other people from Hoboken that applied for the position, and I told wasn't even interviewed. Some of the same names I mentioned here, Charlie Tortorella, Mary Trimedini, these people actually reached out to me and told me they applied too. So with that being said, that was a little disturbing to see, but I'm glad you do have a superintendent, which is a positive thing. And we can go into the school year and people could relax now and stop blowing up my phone. And I told them, and Gail got to meet you too. So we're going to work with you. And we're just happy we do have a superintendent. And now with the kindergarten aides, I put wow in big letters because you took the words out of my mouth. Me, seeing Monica Tone and running to the state for every little thing. That what came out of my mind when I seen them aides stand at this microphone and cry a couple of meetings ago. I said, even though it's no more Abbott district, there is state statutes that got to be abided by. But lately in Hoboken, people do what they want to do. But I'm glad you brought that point, Ms. Rhodes Kearns. Thank you, President, for explaining to the people so they can understand that, why the kindergarten aides will be back. And it's like nobody getting credit here. It's just that they were supposed to be according to law, according to the statute. And Mr. Gary, tonight when they mentioned band camp and I didn't hear your name, I'm sorry, it did pass my mind. You're not the band leader no more?
I always got it already that time.
Oh, so that means no. So.
Yes. I will be teaching Wallace.
Well, and the students too. That's like an impact on them. Well, again, that's some sad news. And with the painting, school board president, I went upstairs and I seen it myself. Beautiful. It doesn't even look like Wallace School. And I asked Dr. Hernandez because he also visited and I asked him, I said, did you see upstairs? I wondered if any other board member take out 2 minutes of their time and go up there. Amazing. It don't even look like it's a Hoboken school. And that's a good thing, a great thing. And I will be calling the media in to take pictures. I told David when they finish, because I think that's something to be, good news coming out of Hoboken. Ms. Bucknight, curriculum director's gone. Another thing I learned tonight, I didn't know that either. But could you please tell me when the committee meetings, I'll be there at everyone, please. And the food service, the portion that comes from the state, I'm a little confused about that. I know we in debt from before when the kids was punished with the egg sandwich tactic and we wound up on TV and made us look really bad, like we was forcing bad food on our kids. When I moved Ralph, right, and the state took and moved him with him when he went to the charter school, because he was a free and reduced lunch kid, when he came back, they still was using Ralph in the charter school as, getting that state funding. And I guess they still pay for the whole year, being that I transferred him back into Wallace. So I wish you look into that too, because maybe they paying in two places and it'll fall back on you that we owe when actually we don't owe. Because I start receiving bills and everything. But that's just something good to look into, because they was paying in two places for Ralph, and then I also start paying here for Ralph, you see? So that money is lingering somewhere. So you could look into that.
1 minute.
Okay? And Hudson County, the board. Okay, that's it. Oh, and the $600,000 cuts. Okay, just could you mention that? Later on after you answer, after everybody finishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waiters. Is that all?
Yeah, that was last speaker. Yep. Just one.
Okay. So now let's pull items that you want to discuss in closed session. Let's get those numbers out first, and then we'll go to the questions on the agenda items that we're going to vote on right now. So,
Sure, I'll go
Ms.
first, no
Burns?
problem. It's, I guess, item number 9.02, governance and personnel, the appointments for the 2014-2015, well, it says here 10-15 school year, but it's 2015.
So
Yeah.
9.02.
Uh-huh. All of the, you know, the personnel, yeah, the whole thing. Please, thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I only have one, 9.23.
2-3, and for the public, what is that one about?
Dr. Hernandez.
I'm sorry, that was for closed session.
Okay. That's for closed session. Okay, and any other polls for closed session? Okay, so now we're going to have questions, board public questions on agenda items.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Rhodes-Kearns?
Okay, this is for discussion as we're voting to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do you want to have, is it a discussion?
It's just one,
Okay,
yeah.
let's do it right now.
It's just one,
So read out the number so anybody who wants to comment.
okay, it's
can.
9.01, acceptance of resignations.
Okay. Okay, your question?
Okay, my comment is,
comment? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
when I saw the long list of resignations and one who had been in our district for 10 years and others for 3 years, and it's just a very disturbing pattern that seems to be happening at our meetings. When I look at the list of resignations, more and more often, this is a larger list of resignations of experienced teachers that we need. And I can't help but believe that it's because of the revolving door that this district has become. And when you talk to parents and staff and students and even administration, and it's disheartening to them, the revolving door that's been happening. And I just want to address that I hope this list gets less and less.
Okay.
As the year goes on, the new school year goes on, and we need to address it, this revolving door that's been happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Biancamano?
My first question is on 8.03. It's the approval of summer professional development. And I don't know if Dr. Burkell, this might have been before your time. We're voting, I understand that teachers need to be reimbursed for their training, completely understand that. But we're voting on something that was done nearly 2 months ago. And normally this comes to us before the actual training. So I'm just, yeah, please, if you can answer, yeah.
We had actually a list that we saw of what it is that everyone is invited, but we don't know who's going to go. So first, there's a list that we see that talks about the professional developments that we're going to be having that are offered, which we see in committee, and we saw a long time ago before Tamika left. And then the reason why it's after is because we don't know who's going to go until we get the attendance that day. So the money for the professional development is approved, but we don't know as just a number, but we don't know who's going to actually come in the summer. So that's why it's after.
So we never approved of a pool, because normally what we do in these types of situations is we approve of a pool of amount of teachers before the actual training starts.
I think we approved an amount of money.
Just an amount of money? But not
Yeah, because we don't know who's going to go. But Dr. Burkell, do you want to talk about what is normally done? Because I'm sure this is a district.
What's normally done in my experience is that we identify not only the money and the topic, but also the people in advance. And I'll try to address that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, just so it doesn't come up 2 months later and we never approved of it. We appreciate that. And then my second question, 9.15. It's an approval of volunteer marching band camp.
Yes.
I was just curious, have all of the counselors been fingerprinted?
They're all our district employees.
So they don't have to be fingerprinted. Okay.
Yeah,
Just curious.
they're volunteer district employees.
Staff.
Gotcha.
Which
They're teachers.
teachers.
Okay.
Well, Carlos is,
Well, I was going to say Carlos is not.
but he's an employee, right?
Okay. Okay, just making sure. before
This
they go
might
off the
be a
camp.
nice opportunity to give the group a round of applause.
I know, very nice.
Absolutely.
Let's take it. Any others?
Nope, not until closed session.
Anyone else have questions on the agenda? We're good? Okay, so we will have a vote on a consent agenda minus 9.02 and 9.23, which we're going to discuss in closed. And this is going to include, everyone, in the consent, the line item for the transfer of the money from one pool to another to cover the instructional aids for kindergarten, just so that everyone knows. Okay? Call the vote,
have a
please,
motion?
Mr.
Should I have
Mo.
a-
Oh,
a
a
motion?
motion.
Motion for consent agenda?
Motion.
Second.
I'll call roll.
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Biancamano?
No on all the minutes, 6.01, 6.02, 6.03, 6.04, and then yes on everything else.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Cluffell?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes Kearns?
No on the minutes, 6.01, 6.02, 6.03, 6.04, and yes on everything else except for the ones that were pulled.
Ms. Sobolov?
Oh, yes, I apologize, I did want to make a quick comment. On the field trips, there's not a lot because it's the beginning of the year, but I did want to point out, too, because they're both really wonderful peer-to-peer education leadership training courses for our sixth graders, which is the peer leaders. And so the sixth graders in the building interact and kind of mentor and guide the fourth graders, I think, and third graders. And then Teen Pep is in the high school, and that's in conjunction with the Princeton Center for Leadership Training. And they mentor the students. And these trips are very important because it's the beginning of their leadership training. So I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was really nice. So yes.
Recorded yes.
Yes.
Ms. Stromwall?
Yes.
Ms. Tyroller?
Yes.
And Dr. Gold?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, do I make the motion to go into closed first?
Yes. You can call for motion to
Motion.
go to executive
Second.
session for the reasons of
For- to
contract negotiation update.
Update on contract negotiations
And personnel
and
items.
personnel items.
Approximately about half hour, you think, or 15 minutes?
I would say a half an hour,
Okay, and we'll be coming back to take action.
and we're coming back to take action, correct?
So motion is?
Motion,
Motion.
Second.
and a second from Jean Marie.
Okay, call roll.
Call the roll.
Want me to call roll? Yep.
Call roll.
Mr. Biancamano?
Aye.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Cluffell?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes Kearns?
Yes.
Ms. Sobolov?
Yes.
Ms. Stromwall?
Yes.
Ms. Tyroller?
Yes.
And Dr. Gold?
Yes.
Do you read the statement to go into closed, or no? Are we supposed to? I don't know.
Do we need to approve
Yes?
I think we could just go. We've been doing that.
Okay, we'll go. Okay. Do you bring us out of closed session?
I can, sure. Do you want me
Thank
to
you.
take roll?
Please.
Want me to take roll?
Yes, please.
Mr. Biancamano, for returning from closed session.
Aye.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Cluffell?
Here.
Ms. Mitchell?
Here.
Ms. Rhodes Kearns?
Here.
Ms. Sobolov?
Here.
Ms. Stromwall?
Here.
Ms. Tyroller?
Here.
And Dr. Gold?
Yes.
Okay, so now we're coming out of
Doing a
closed
separate-
session.
Were we doing a separate action for both or combined?
We're going to do them, we're voting on 9.02 and 9.23
Together.
together. So call the vote, please.
Could I have a motion and second?
Oh, motion?
Second.
Motion?
Oh,
You can't motion.
I'm sorry.
Jean Marie second.
And second was?
second.
Jean? Call roll.
Yes, please.
Ms. Biancamano?
Aye.
Was that an aye? Mm-hmm. Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Cluffell?
What's this?
Yes.
Closed session?
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes Kearns?
Wait, is this for coming out of closed session, or?
No, this is for resolution
whole agenda items?
9.02 plus
Okay.
9.23. We came back with the prior vote.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah, me too.
continue.
Okay, so I was calling Ms. Rhodes Kearns for moving to 9.02 and 9.23.
Yes on 9.02, except for number 1. No on number 1, 9.02, number 1.
And then yes on 9.23?
And then yes on 9, yeah, the rest.
Ms. Sobolov?
Yes on 9.02, abstain 9.23, and I don't know if I need to abstain on 9.10. It's the list of volunteers for theater staff. Huh? Oh, we already voted on that. Oh, okay.
Well,
Sorry.
what's done is done.
It's just the volunteers. Never mind. Yes,
Okay.
and abstain.
Ms. Stromwall?
Yes.
Ms. Tyroller?
Yes.
And Dr. Gold?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll have open comments.
Ms. Waiters?
How many speakers do we have?
There's one speaker. It's Ms.
Okay.
Waiters.
Okay.
Is this the public?
This is the
Yes, it is.
public.
I just want to clarify this for members of the public that will be watching this. I did say I was going to comment on something that I seen in the Hudson Reporter concerning the upcoming election in 9 weeks. I am a candidate again. And I just want to clarify one thing, because our city is like under scrutiny with this notion that, oh, Dawn Zimmer have the majority, so no use of us, let's give up. It's like a little bully and scare tactic thing that's going on. And maybe tonight I could clarify some of that to show people that my actions speak louder than my words, and I am a woman of my word. So I didn't get intimidated with the article when I read it, but it just named the candidates. And it also have me and Mr. Murray at the end, and it says, also running, but even if they win, okay, so if I'm not saying your word incorrect, Hudson Reporter, I apologize, but it said even if we win, you still have the majority and control. And just the language alone is a little disturbing, because we watching TV, we seen the riot with the housing authority, we see what's happening in our city as a whole with this old versus the new. And one thing about me, I said leave the politics out and put the people first. And that's what I intend to do, win or lose this election. I ran 6 times for the board, I'm gonna continue to run, and I'm not intimidated by anyone. And tonight I brought here a resignation letter. I just want to read it briefly into the record. Due to personal circumstances, I hereby tender my resignation from the legislative office effective July 18, 2014. I will be forever grateful to the opportunity that Mr. Garcia gave me, your genuine and courtesy and loving heart. May God's peace be with you. And I resigned because I was told that it would be a conflict of interest. And I try to keep my name with integrity. Now, with that being said, to see that on there stating that I'm running, I want to show you, this is just an example of what I do. Whether you feel that you have 6-3, 6-1, 50-2. One thing about Pat Wade is if I'm a board member, I will be a voice. I will go down to Trenton, I will go on the state level. Monica Tone know me very well. I'll appear in your office, I don't care what time it is, if it's for the people. After the riot, 2 days later, this is me signing in the HUD. There go the pass, there go the timestamp, my blue hoopty made it there. Okay, so I'm just showing the public I don't get intimidated by the majority versus the minority. I went over their head. There is a state board of education that supersedes all 9 of you guys, and you know that. Okay, this is just a little simple complaint form. This is me showing up in HUD on the state level, and this is me bringing my evidence and my facts. Okay, so this is just to show people that's watching this tonight. Once again, I hope you have confidence in me. My number is 8H. I am running for the Board of Ed. It doesn't matter whether it's one, the vote is split, and it's 1 me versus 7 of you guys. I'll work with each and every one of you. Like I said before, I'm fair and I'm open, and it's about the people, the teachers, the staff, and all the people that's been coming to me for help for the last 4 years, and I will continue to serve them. And welcome aboard, Ms. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waiters. Yeah, and that's just a reminder to the public that individuals run for school board. They team together because resources and other reasons, and also likeness of thought. But we're 9 individuals, and I'd like to think that we all represent, ourselves and to do what we individually think is correct. And most of the time on this board, we usually vote together. And I feel that everyone on this board is thinking about the kids, and I'm glad there's people in the public that do as well. So I think that's it. So.
I'm sorry, I reached my luck, so I'm having a little trouble understanding.
Did you have to sign up, please?
Did you sign to?
No, I'm just an operational thing.
Well, just sign up and speak.
So you can sign up and ask.
No, I'm not asking to speak, I'm asking if you could articulate. I can't understand your words are combining together, and if you could please articulate, maybe put a little space in between your words so I can understand.
Oh, I apologize.
Thank you.
Okay. So I was just expressing how when you run for the board, you actually run as an individual. And there's individuals, that's why we draw, when the county clerk draws election positions in the machine, it's as individuals. And even if people choose to run as a group, for whatever reasons they choose, likeness of thought, pooling of resources and campaign materials, that we're still all individuals when we're represented on this board. And I like to believe that all of us are individually making decisions about every item that we vote on. And fortunately to me, most of the time we have, unanimous voting. There's just a few items out of many, many, many items this evening that did not have a unanimous yay or yes vote. So I just wanted to point that out.
Madam Chair, if you don't mind, can I just bring up one thing to Dr. Brackell? And obviously you weren't here. I don't think this board was ever reported to the board about the QSAC results from last year. And I was just wondering if you have a status on, I know you're new, so I don't mean to, you don't have a status. Okay. And I know they're usually supposed to be reported by June 15th. That's why. So, Dr. Hernandez, I don't know if you have a status. Yes. And then, okay.
I thought our QSAC results came out already.
And it's supposed to be reported, right?
We're appealing them.
One area.
Does that mean we can't report on them if we're appealing them? You're supposed to report on them.
Yeah, I thought we were
Excuse me,
supposed to report.
May I ask
Yes.
a question of the superintendent? Are these the questions that should be addressed to you in private? So you'd be prepared?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not prepared to talk about CUSAC at all here.
Well, and I'm not asking you to report it tonight. I'm just asking you if possibly for the next meeting, since they were supposed to be reported by June.
I wouldn't even be able to answer the question as to whether or not it was reported. But if you say it wasn't, I have to take that on.
That's correct. It wasn't. I'm just telling you it wasn't, and hopefully it can get reported on the next meeting.
Right, because the school district where I work, we've known our QSAC results for quite some time now.
Okay. So you'll take that away as a...
Can you find out when we need to report it and let us know?
Right, in relation to the appeal, too. They're under appeal.
Well, can we get a confirmation on that?
Yep.
Madam Chair?
Yes, yes.
Okay, can we get a confirmation as to when it needed to be reported? And
yeah,
okay.
and you can communicate to us, to the board, and your weekly report would be great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Fran. Okay, so without further ado, I think we can...
motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.